This video is for any international student who is coming to New Zealand to study in the IT industry and eventually look for part-time or full-time job opportunities. In this video, I'm breaking down the complete IT job contract in New Zealand in 2025. I've broken this video down into 13 different parts, and the agenda for today is we're going to learn about the different types of contracts, what are the duties that you have to perform, salary, leave, work from home, notice period, the difference between a private and a government contract, your hours of work, managing your own time, overtime, performance reviews, and how a New Zealand employer looks after your mental health and well-being. Hi, I'm Jenny. I moved to New Zealand in 2018 as an international student, and today I'm a proud permanent resident. I have been working in the IT industry for over 5 years, and I've got a complete picture of how to start within an IT industry to eventually land your dream job in New Zealand. Let's get started. There is a confidentiality clause in every contract that you sign here in New Zealand, and that means that I can't disclose all the details like the parties and who the contract is between, and the salary, the exact salaries. I can't disclose all of that, but what I can do is I can describe you all the highlights of the contract that you can expect when signing a contract. Number two is that I'm not a recruitment consultant. I'm actually a co-founder and educational consultant for TechMed Pathway, and this video has been designed purely for your educational purposes. So there's no job offer here. Don't put me in the comment section that you need a job and you're interested, because that doesn't exist. This is absolutely for educational purposes. The duties will be assigned in the job description itself. So, when you are going out, applying for the job description will be there as a snapshot on Seek New Zealand or any other website that you are applying for. And then there will be a complete job description, and then the job description will highlight what the duties are. Pretty standard, pretty common here in New Zealand as well. Reflecting back on my own journey, when I started as an within the IT industry, I started off as a contractor. And what it means that there are different types of contract in the IT industry here in New Zealand. You could start off as a contractor, you could be on fixed term, full-time, and even part-time jobs as well. What a contractor is that it's a third party. So a third party would hire you, and then they would send you for assignments. You complete the assignment, and the client would pay the third party, the recruitment consultancy, and then you would get paid. So that's how I started as a contractor. And the full-time employee, fixed-term and part-time employee is a direct relationship with the employer. So these are the different types of contracts that you can get here in IT industry. Fixed term is for the duration. So you could be on a fixed term for, let's say, 12 months, 18 months, and once the assignment is completed with the employer, you move on to the next job. Part-time, obviously, you would have 20 to 25 hours, or depending on what the part-time situation is, and then the full-time employees. Full-time employees here in New Zealand, full-time work in the IT industry here in New Zealand varies. It could be 37.5 or it could be 40 hours as well. The salaries in New Zealand, most of the recruitment employers, what they are doing is they are putting out the salary when they are advertising the job. So you will get to see the salary straight away. And if they have not advertised the salary, then you are encouraged to reach out to the employer to ask for what the salary range is. The way I see salary here in New Zealand is that you have a starting point, a midpoint, and then the high end point. An example would be, let's say the salaries in New Zealand for that particular advertised job is between $80,000 to $120,000, right? So the way I would see the salary range is someone who is quite new to the role, doesn't have a lot of experience, is entry level into the role, or when you look at the job description and out of the 10 things you only meet, let's say 5 things, then that means that you are likely to be on the beginning range of the salary, so like 80,000. So looking at the job description again, if you feel like there are 7 or 8 things that you are meeting in the criteria, then you're probably in the middle range. And if you meet the 10 out of 10, then it is probably on the higher end, $120,000. So that is how you can negotiate the salary. And currently in New Zealand, if you go on to Seek New Zealand, then they have a salary range estimator. So you can put in the current salary that you are earning, and that will compare with what the market is. There's also every year a lot of big recruitment agencies do their research, and they also advertise. I think that Here's Recruitment every year produces a salary report, and it breaks down into details that, okay, these are the kind of titles that are earning this much of salary, and they even further break it down into the types of region. And so those are the kinds of reports that you can download, that you can research. So when you are going to a job interview, You can say that I've done my research, I've looked at the job description, and looking at these two things, I feel like I fit here. Where do you see me in the current salary range? And that's how you can negotiate your IT salary here in New Zealand. Depending on the security or the level of security and the type of role that you're working on, work from home clauses are going to change. Now, I have worked in places where it was completely remote, you were not expected to come into work. In fact, they even encouraged you to work from home by giving you that extra allowance for your home office setup. And there are also places where you are expected to come into work 5 days a week. There are also places here in New Zealand which will give you 3 days of working from office and 2 days working from home, and that is something that you agree with your employer, and you let your team know that these are the days that I'm working from home. So work from home or remote benefits will be specified, so it depends on how you negotiate with the employer, and also understand the requirement before you start applying for that role or when you are at the interview stage as well. So long story short, you have that flexibility. Remote working is very much accepted here in New Zealand. It's just a matter of understanding what kind of role you are applying for, the level of security, and then what it would mean for you in your role. Talking about notice period, now a standard employment contract will have 28 days of notice period. So like 4 weeks you have to give to the employer before you move on to the next job if you have decided to resign. Now there is something, the more senior you get into the role, the shorter your notice period would be, or vice versa, the longer the notice period would be. So I'll tell you an example of when it is shorter notice period. An example, this is absolutely hypothetical. Let's say Coca-Cola, in Coca-Cola you were working at a very senior level, right? So you understand all the commercial secrets, you know what the next discounts are, what the marketing strategy is, yada yada. So now you have given Coca-Cola your notice period that actually I'm going to work in Pepsi now. That's the direct competitor, and I'm no longer, and my start day is on this day. So what Coca-Cola would do, an example, this is not Coca-Cola doing actually, what Coca-Cola would do is that they would say, okay, yep, we accept your notice period straight away. By the end of the day, your access will get revoked, so you will not be updated on the next company activities that are happening, and we will put you on, let's say, garden leave. So garden leave is something that you're still employed with the organization. They still pay you, but you don't work and your access is revoked. So you wait till your garden leave is over. Once your garden leave is over, then you can start working with Pepsi. Now this happens in IT industry in New Zealand all the time. It is a very common scenario, but it mostly happens for people who are quite high and are decision makers and can control where the company's direction is going. So this is a very common example that happens. Private contracts versus government contracts. I have worked in private industries, I have worked in government industries, and I can't really see a huge difference between working in private. I grew up in India, right? So we think in our Indian mindset, we think that, oh, you got a government job, then that means that this job is for forever. You will never get laid off. But in private, you can get laid off. That is not the case here in New Zealand. You can get laid off from any job that you are working, but there is a proper process that both private and government organizations have to follow. They have to go through a redundancy process to make the role redundant, and they will keep you informed about when that is going to happen, and you can have a redundancy clause as well in your IT contract. Then they are happy to pay you so much amount of money. So it could be 4 weeks of salary will give you, or 8 weeks of salary will give you, 3 months of salary will give you. So there will be a redundancy clause before they let you go. So that's part of a restructure. So in New Zealand, what I'm trying to tell you is, just because you have a government job does not mean that you have that job for the whole lifetime. There is restructure happening all the time, and IT people are being let go and new roles are coming in as well. So something to be educated about, not scared about. Hours of work, I have discussed previously, hours of work will depend on the contract. So some contracts will have 40 hours, some will have 37.5. That would be the standard hours of work. Also, you're expected to manage your own time. I'll give you a normal day-to-day example and how a Kiwi employer is not pretending that you don't have life outside work. An example is you have a dental appointment, and that sits right in the middle of your work day. That means that you have to take that hour off, so 30 minutes of unpaid break and 30 minutes of paid break. You'll have to take that hour off to go to your dental appointment. Now you can tell your manager in advance that on certain day between 1 to 2, I will be unavailable. And for that, you don't have to apply leave. You can discuss with your manager if you can work that 1 hour extra or compensate during the day or during the week. So you are treated as an adult and you are expected to manage your own time. Just don't cut any corners. That's what they expect. As long as you get the job done, I don't think so managers here are micromanaging or sitting over your head and trying to, look at your availability or your team's chat. No, managers are very busy. They have very busy lives. They expect you to work like an adult and finish the task that is being completed within the time frames. Overtime. Now, in my 5 years, I have never received overtime in money, but I have received overtime in time back. So in New Zealand, what happens? There are two ways. Either you get paid overtime in money. So let's say if I have worked 42 hours during the week. Now that 2 hours I could be paid as overtime, or I could get that 2 hours back in the following week. So I would be like, oh, this week I worked 42 hours. Next week, can I work 38 hours and get 2 hours of my time back? Again, this goes back to managing your own time, keeping your manager informed and informing them how your work is going, how your time you're putting into the work is going. So that is how overtime is calculated. Most of the contractors who are working through third party might not get overtime. For overtime, clients or employers will prefer that they are using their current permanent staff to give them the overtime so that it's less costly on the organization as well. Performance reviews. New Zealand is very big on performance development, performance review, whether you're working in private organization or government organizations. They want to develop you, they want to develop your skills because they understand that investing in you means that you will return the reward, you will return that skill to the organization. So every 3 months or 4 months, depending on the structure of your contract and the organization that you're going into, they will have performance reviews. And performance reviews is basically to set your it's basically goal setting sessions. So you go in, you decide what are your skills are in 1 year's time, where do you want to be, and the employer will invest their time, their resources in trying to upskill you to wherever you want to be in 1 year's of time. Performance reviews are also used as an opportunity for understanding if your goal is to get a promotion next year, let's say. So then your employer will work with you on the skills and help you develop those skills, and then next year when the time for promotion comes, then you are a strong candidate applying with all your other colleagues as well for that performance appraisal or for that promotion as well. So performance reviews is a very big thing. Career coaching, professional development is a very big thing here, and employers are invested in your performance overall. The last one that I've got is well-being, and there are 3 different parts of well-being. Mental health and well-being. It's the vision health, employee assistance programs, and professional development. Again, I've put professional development here because I'm going to speak a little bit more on that. So first of all, what I found exciting was some employers in New Zealand are actually understand that you are working 9 to 5 on a computer screen most of the time. So that's like a large part of your day that's spent on looking at screens. So they are very concerned about your visual health actually. So they will give you a little bit of allowance that you can spend on getting your optometrist checkups, or if you want to use that fund to buy new specs or upgrade your glasses. So vision health is definitely included in some of the contracts. Then is your employer assistance program. Whether you're working in private or government, they will give you this assistance program, and that is basically 3 career coaching sessions with an external provider, not within your organization. That is, if you want to discuss anything that's happening personally or professionally, but it has to be outside of work so that it doesn't impact your current relationships, then the employers will create those opportunities for you to have to chat with your counselor to find out how you can manage this so that you can become more invaluable within your current job. And the third one is professional development. That is, if there are any training courses that has been identified as part of your skill development, then the employer will take all actions that is required to get you that training, to put you on that course, and they will reimburse you for that course, or they will buy you the book, buy you the program or the access that you need. They will be invested in giving you the resources that you need to upskill as an employee. So ladies and gentlemen, international students who are planning to come to New Zealand, this is a wrap, and I've covered the 13 different types of benefits that you can get in an IT contract. And just to quickly summarize what I've discussed is I've discussed about the type of contracts, contract, full-time, part-time, fixed term. I've talked about the duties, salary. So there's a salary range that you can find on Seek New Zealand. 8 different types of leave, work from home, remote working, types of notice period, working between private and government, hours of work, managing your own time, how overtime is calculated here in New Zealand, how employers invested in your performance reviews so that you can get that next promotion or get that next job that you're aiming for, and then investing into your mental health and well-being. If you've loved watching this video, I would really appreciate it if you could share with someone who is thinking about moving to New Zealand. Also, you can reach out to me on ginny@techmedpathway.co.nz. That is my email address, and book a time with me or send a query if you're thinking about moving to New Zealand on study pathways. Thank you so much once again. See you in the next video.